Honestly, I'm just excited to finally be able to make a positive video about my Mavericks. My Mavs finally get a good win on the season, beating the Nuggets 131 to 121. They shoot 56% from the field, 52% from three. Probably the best game the Mavs have played this year. And they kind of, I think, unlocked what was probably obvious to all of us, in all honesty, but now looks to be more clear than ever that this Mavs team can be a lot better if Anthony Davis is playing the center position. Now, I personally still think, and I'm going to preface with this, that the best course of action for the Mavs' future is probably to trade Anthony Davis, because I think this is the last high-level draft pick. This is the last of the Mavs draft picks that they fully control until, I believe, 2030. They have a 2029 unprotected Lakers first as well, I guess. But point being, they are in a position where there's a really good chance they're not going to have a high draft pick for a long time. I've already talked about that. I think this is the opportunity to get another lottery pick, another young guy on a similar timeline as Cooper Flagg, and try to get a high pick and get another impact guy. And I think Anthony Davis does have real trade value around the league still. Not gigantic, but somewhat real. That being said, I think in this game, for the first time all season, we really saw what the Mavs theoretically could still be if they play Anthony Davis at the 5. The key with having AD at the 5 is there is a lot more spacing and a lot more versatility that can be had offensively, because AD is free to be more of a rim roller, finish around the rim, offensive rebounds. He had 13 rebounds, including 4 offensive. Obviously, Jokic was phenomenal, had 29, 20, and 13. Still not his most efficient game, though, in all honesty. At the end of the day, Jokic is Jokic. AD's always struggled with Jokic. That's one of the toughest matchups you're going to have in all of basketball. Spencer Jones had the game of his life for the Nuggets, but honestly, besides Jokic and Jones, they did not have a great all-around game. Jamal Murray left the game with an ankle sprain. Hopefully he's good. But the Nuggets did not play well. I didn't think they played with a ton of energy and a ton of effort, at the exception of probably Spencer Jones and Peyton Watson in terms of the energy side of things anyway. And the Mavs played really well after the first quarter. They were down 21-4 in this game and came all the way back, had a great second quarter and great second half, shot really efficiently. Ryan Nembhard had the game of his life. 28 points on 12 of 14, 4 of 5 from 3 with 10 assists is ridiculous. You're not going to get that type of play out of him consistently. That being said, I do think he's probably the best point guard this team has, at least until Kyrie Irving returns, and he's a guy who should absolutely be a part of this rotation this year and hopefully going forward. He's a guy who truly can facilitate a high-level offense and make the right play consistently, and while his lack of size can be frustrating, we see NBA players even today succeed with lack of size. I think he can be a quality player for this team for sure. Now, depth is a question. There's a lot of guys also out with injury, obviously. I wonder what the Mavs should do here, because again, I think probably trading AD is probably the best course of action for the future. But if you're trying to stay competitive, trying to win games, trying to bring Kyrie back this year, all that type of stuff, you're going to have to figure something out, because AD needs to play the center position. And if Derek Lively and Daniel Gafford are healthy, which as of right now they are not, but if they are, you now have 3 centers. That's an issue. You know what I mean? Derek Lively's growth has been stunted anyway since Luka got traded and since the team has shifted so much. I think it's taken away from a lot of what he does well. Gafford is still useful and I think a quality big, but I don't know if either of those guys really fit this team, in all honesty, with what the Mavs are trying to do, if they're trying to keep Anthony Davis and have some sort of core with Kyrie, Flagg, AD, and build from that. It's just weird. I was happy with the way they played last night. I think AD played really well, was able to attack from the mid-range, attack around the rim, made a couple of three-pointers, spacing the floor even from the deeper mid-range a little bit, which isn't always the most efficient shot, but it is a high-quality shot for Anthony Davis. And I honestly thought he played well. Cooper Flagg, again, an efficient 24 points, 8 rebounds, played well again tonight, or I guess last night in this game. I thought he was good. And honestly, Max Christie and Klay Thompson, I really have no complaints, especially recently with Klay. He's been shooting the crap out of the ball. I really think the Mavs have a pretty decent set of wings there with Christie and Klay, guys who obviously Christie especially can compete on the defensive end of the court, and then obviously high-level floor spacers. Klay is turning back into Klay Thompson. You're seeing him become the guy that he has been for years. He's never going to be the same Klay Thompson that he once was, where he was truly one of the best, most insane players. Well, I mean, obviously, he's still an elite shooter, I do believe, but when he was truly one of the most insanely unstoppable shooters we've ever seen at his peak, and able to do it on such higher volume. At the same time, he's playing a lot better as of late. I think Klay has been a net positive for this team. Max Christie's been a net positive for this team all year. He's shooting 45.5% from 3. That's phenomenal. I do think Coop is going to eventually progress in the right direction in terms of some of the three-point shooting stuff. PJ Washington's out right now, but I think is another guy who can absolutely be a positive impact wing on this team. I love the PJ Washington, Najee Marshall combination, even if they're not always the most efficient. They both high effort, high energy defensive guys who can do stuff off the dribble, create, PJ, especially with his rebounding as well. There's just a lot of versatility that both of those guys can provide on the wings, as long as they're not being asked to do way too much when it comes to shot creation and primary ball handling and stuff like that, which again is where Ryan Nembhard and a player like that comes into play so importantly. Now, besides Ryan Nembhard, I do not like what Brandon Williams has done this season, in all honesty. Overall, his efficiency, especially from three, has just been atrocious. D'Angelo Russell, kind of the same story, been a little bit more efficient, but still pretty darn bad in that area, and he doesn't play any defense. I don't love the Mavs depth guard-wise, obviously, until Kyrie returns. I'm sorry, I'm kind of out on Jaden Hardy at this point in his career as well. I was hopeful that was going to turn into something, but I'm really not sold. There's just a lot of issues still with this team. They don't have guard depth, especially primary shot creating guard depth, and I think it's going to create a lot of emphasis on Ryan Nembhard to have to be a guy who becomes a real key player on this team rotationally, and I think that has to happen now if you want to be competitive. And again, I think Anthony Davis has to play the five most of the time. I think you can get away with playing some minutes at the four. You can be really impactful with him having some minutes at the four, especially if you do have quality shooting and shot creation around them. With AD at the four, it means a lot of Nembhard at the point guard, Clay or Christie at all times on the wing, and then another guy who's competent shooting on the wing as well. I don't know. I think you can get away with some AD at the 4 minutes, but I think this team is going to be best when AD's at the 5. And so that creates questions. If you're keeping AD, what are you doing with Derek Lively and Daniel Gafford? If you're not keeping AD, then when is that going to happen? You know what I mean? I think this team's in limbo right now in a lot of ways. What direction do they want to go? I know they're 7-15. They're like the 12 seed in the West right now. Definitely look at things and go, okay, yeah, it's not been a great start to the season, but to be fair, they're 2.5 games out of the 9 seed. They're 4.5 games out of the 8 seed. And honestly, when you look at the West, OKC's ridiculous. The Lakers, Rockets, Nuggets, Spurs, Timberwolves are all very solid, despite, I think, some inconsistency from some of those teams. All those teams, I think, are solid playoff teams. And the Suns have exceeded expectations. We'll see if that continues, but I've been pleased with what I've seen from them so far. And I think the Warriors are going to be fine. They're not amazing, but I think they're going to be fine. But the honest truth is, outside of those top 8, the West is wide open. The Grizzlies have a lot of issues, even though they've won 3 games in a row. The Trailblazers, I don't think have quite enough talent. I like what Denny Avdija has done a lot, but I don't think there's quite enough there. The Jazz, same story, well coached, but not enough there as of right now, roster talent-wise still. And the Kings, Clippers, and Pelicans all look like they're just out of it already. And so I could see a world in which the Mavs look at things and go, okay, the 9 seed is absolutely right there. We can go get that. And maybe that's the thought process. Now, the 9 seed is not what your goal should be. I don't think our goal should be to get the pleasure of getting popped by Oklahoma City in the first round by 20 points each game. But I don't know. That's why I think, again, my opinion is that they should probably tank. But I can understand why they would not want to do that. And I can say and can agree that this has been about the best the Mavs have played in a while. I will give them that. I think today's game, or yesterday's game, was legitimately the best game the Mavs have played this season, and it showed that there is some possibility for some offensive progress. They're 6th in defensive rating, well, tied for 5th in defensive rating in basketball right now, and they still have the worst offensive rating in the league, which puts their net rating at a negative 4.5. There's a reason they've been bad. They're a bottom 10 net rating team, but I think there is real room for improvement with this roster. Still am so frustrated about all the stuff I've talked about before with Luka trade, Grimes trade, off-season additions, just not doing things right, I think, as an organization in a lot of ways. But Nico Harrison's gone now. It's time to move on. It's time to move towards the future. Whether that future includes Anthony Davis or not, we'll see. But tonight proved that it can work. We'll see what their plan is. I hope y'all did enjoy the video. If you did, make sure you hit that like button, leave a comment, and subscribe. Be back with more NBA content very, very soon. I appreciate y'all. Peace.